All right. Hello. Can you hear me? This is Liz at Elevation Solar coming to you from our office here in Gilbert. We are going to get ready to start our first YouTube live event. It is so exciting that we are here and ready to go ahead and do this. Victoria, I see you here. Hello and welcome. We'll go ahead and get started in a couple minutes, just waiting to see if anyone else is ready to join on. I hope everyone has been enjoying their solar so far. At the end of our presentation, we'll have a 5-minute Q&A. So if you have any questions, go ahead. If you want to type them into our chat, you can definitely do that. And when we get to the end of the presentation, we'll go ahead and go through the questions and find out what we can answer. Okay, everyone, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm so excited that you're here. As I mentioned, what we're going to go over today is, are you really saving money with solar? So most of everyone here on this broadcast is going to be, already activated. You already have your solar on. You've been having a few bills here and there. Now, if you don't have solar yet or it's not activated, you can still watch this video. It's just going to help you see how we calculate your usage and know how your savings are. So let's go ahead and get started. So what we're going to review in specifics, we're going to look at the Solar Edge monitoring site. Now, if you have a different monitoring site like Enphase or anything else, let us know if you want a video on that so we can make you one. We're also going to make a video later about just Solar Edge, going over the great things about it. So we're just going to look at one specific section with Solar Edge today. There's a section of the billing cycle. We're then going to look at a bill breakdown. So we're going to look at a Nevada energy bill, just for simplicity reasons. We're going to look at the usage, as far as what was consumed from the solar and what was consumed from the utility company. Once we look at that and we analyze that, what we're going to look at is what the home consumed before solar was on, so that we can see, okay, was there an energy increase? And if so, what was the increase, and find out what those savings are, even if there was an energy increase. Because a lot of people, they'll still increase their energy usage, and it'll be higher than what they pulled before, but they're still seeing a good amount of savings. So we'll go ahead and get through that, and then towards the end, we'll leave 5 minutes set aside for Q&A. So if any you guys have any questions, go ahead and write those into our chat. You'll see just a comment from me saying, if you have any questions, go ahead and write them in there, and when we get time, we'll go ahead and go through them. So here's the SolarEdge dashboard. Now, when you first log in, it's going to automatically open up to this. Now, it might just show you the month option. It's not actually going to have this billing cycle highlighted. But this is what we're going to look at today. Now, this is an actual account, and this is for an actual bill. So we just went a few days back, or months, excuse me, just to see a good bill. So with this one, what you do when you get to the billing cycle on your monitoring site, what it'll ask you is to put in your billing date. So it's usually just this little calendar. You'll click it, put in the billing dates that you received per your utility bill, and then find out what your system produced at that time. This is an amazing tool, mainly because it is very important to look at your utility company's bill and your monitoring site to know exactly what you consumed. As you're aware, you're pulling power from the solar system and the utility company. So it's important to look at both. If you're just looking at your utility bill, gets really hard to see what your total consumption was, because your bill's only going to show you the credits you send back to your utility company. So that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what you produce. That just means that that's what you sent back as extra energy that your home didn't use at that time. So this is, like I said, a great option, a great tool to know that you're see what you're producing at that time. Now, let's go ahead and look at a Nevada energy bill. Now, I chose Nevada Energy just for simplicity reasons. Now, we're all over the United States. We have a few, we have some sites there in Texas and California, here in Arizona, some in Florida. So, your bill might be looking just a little bit different than what this bill is. But for the most part, everyone has a section that shows what you pulled from the utility company. For Nevada Energy, their bill just says kWhd, which means kilowatt hours delivered. Now all your power is going to be in kWhd. You might see it on your monitoring site that there'll be an M. That's just megawatts. So that's just moving the decimal 3 times to the left so that you can get to that, to the right. You can see what it is in kilowatt hours. Now, what we're seeing here is that this customer pulled 1,869 kilowatt hours from the utility company, kilowatt hours delivered. Now, what this section is here, kWhr, that is kilowatt hours received. So what this is what you sent back as credits. So that doesn't mean that you were pulling more power. That doesn't mean that you were only producing this power. That just means that this is extra power that your home didn't use that you sent back in the form of credits. Now, with Nevada Energy's bill, they actually give you the kWhg, which is kilowatt hours generated. I recommend to look at your monitoring site if you want to know what your system actually produced. So what we're seeing here is that they pulled this much. They sent back 288. So Nevada Energy charged them for the 1,581. Now, like I said, that this number isn't your total production. So don't rely too much on that. And then if you're just looking at your bill, know that that's not all that your system produced. That's just extra. Now, with this specific bill, there's just these other little charges like the financing, these other charges. Now, if you're here in Arizona, you're going to get a demand charge. If you are curious on, demand or anything, let us know if you would like a live or an explanation on how to control your demand. If you guys really want one, we can definitely make one for you just to make sure that you have all the information that you need. Now, we looked at the Nevada Energy bill. We know for this specific period from August 27th through September 26th that this is what happened on the utility side. Now, let's go ahead and look at the other slide that we looked at from SolarEdge and see what the solar production was compared to the consumption from the utility company. Now, I went ahead and put this information here in the middle just so that you know exactly what I'm looking at. Now, most of this information is going to be from this side, and then our solar production is this number right here. But I will go ahead and point at those as well so that you see them. Now, what we're looking at is the billing period, the 27th of August through the 26th of September. So you can see here, that's the dates we have in our SolarEdge site. We have the 27th of August through the 26th of September. Perfect. We know that the system produced 1,240 kilowatt hours. Like I mentioned, you just move that decimal 3 spots to the right, and then that's what you get as far as your kilowatt hours. So what we looked at is, okay, what did this customer pull from the utility company? We know, looking at the bill, that they pulled 1,869. Now let's look at the credits that they sent in. They sent in 200 consumed from the utility company. We already know it's this 1,581. Now what we're going to do from here is add the consumption from the utility company. What we want to do is add these numbers, the 1,240, with this number here so that we can see what the total consumption was. Now, if you remember, we already subtracted these credits, so we are already taking into account the extra power that the home didn't use. So we add those together, we get 2,821. So for this specific time, with the utility company and with the solar production, this is how much this customer consumed for that time. Now, for this customer, this is actually what they consumed before they had solar. About half of what they consumed, almost about half. So we can say that there's a difference in energy usage. Now, that's okay if you have a different, sense of, if you pulled more power now than what you did before, that's okay. Sometimes that happens. But what we need to know is, what these savings are. Always try to keep this number low. Try to make it close to what you pulled before so that, your savings are still close to what we expected them to be. Now, I want to show you the breakdown of how we got this information. Now, this information, this is this is going to be the same info on any other utility bill. So any SRP bill, any CPS bill, this is all the information, any APS bill, all of this information is going to be there. Now, like I said, your utility bills might be a little bit different just based on the area you're in and the charges that you receive, but all of your bills will show what you pulled from the utility company, what you sent back as credits, and then what is the remainder off of that. So I want to show you how I calculated that information and I found out how much consumption that our customer was consuming. So what we did is we looked at the consumption from the utility company. Now remember, this number was on the utility bill. What we're looking at is what was consumed initially. We're going to subtract the credits so that we can find out what the consumption was from the utility company alone. So we already know that this was extra power, as we mentioned before. We know that this is the total consumption of the home just from the utility company. Now, like I said, let's add the solar so that we can see the total consumption. So we add this 1,240 to the 1581 and we get 2821. So this is solar and utility, like I mentioned. So I want to show you guys how we get those numbers so that if you want to get your numbers for your own bills, you know exactly how to find it. So this live will be posted on our video on our channels as well. So if you aren't able to, write everything down right now, that's okay. Go ahead and rewatch this video when you're going to look at your bill and you're curious to see what your consumption was so you can follow along with this. Now, what I want to see, now we know, okay, we know what the consumption was and we know what the consumption was a year before. We already know that there's already an overuse of consumption. As we know, this customer pulled almost half of this number last year. Taking that into account, let's see what these savings are. Now, it's okay. Like I said, if your consumption is a little bit higher, let's just make sure that your yearly consumption stays similar or close to what you pulled before the solar was installed. Now, as long as you stay close to that number, you should meet those savings, no issues, and your system should be producing well, no issues. Now let's look at these savings. Now, if this customer had no solar system, this is the charge that they would have gotten from Nevada Energy. This number is specifically used with their generation rate. So their generation rate is about 11 cents. So that's where that number came from. So without solar, if this customer pulled 2,800 and what was it, 51 kilowatt hours, this is what Nevada Energy would have charged them. Now, with the bill that they received, it was about $197. Now, let's just say that their solar payment was $100. That's an average. Some people have a little bit lower, some people have a little bit higher. That's all just dependent on your loan company. Now, if this customer for this month in August, they paid their utility company and they paid their solar payment, we can see that they just paid $298 for those 2,851 kilowatt hours. Now, that's the great thing about solar, that you're pulling from your system and you're sending back credits. So, though this customer pulled more power than they did last year, we can still see these savings. Now, you're probably looking at this and saying, that's not the savings that I was expecting. Now, that's right, because when we look at your proposal, when we meet with you at initial point of sale, what you're seeing is an average of, the 12 months. So if you want to know what you're saving each month, this is a great way to do it. It's a great way, with those calculations we did in the previous slide, to know what your savings are. Now, if you do this every month for your 12 months, then you can just add your monthly savings that you get each month, and then, those are the savings that you receive for the year. Like I said, always keep an eye on that consumption so that you are as close to what you consumed before. And then, as far as that goes, make sure that system is running well. Keep an eye on your monitoring site. We will watch it every so often here and there, but, make sure that you're watching your monitoring site as well. That is your system, that is your production. You want to own it. It's so exciting. I watch solar systems all the time, and it is awesome to see the great things that solar can do for people and the CO2 emissions that you're reducing and the equivalent of trees that you're planting given with your solar production. So it's a really awesome thing that you guys have solar. I commend you for doing that. It's an awesome thing, not just for wanting to save money, but the awesome benefits that you're giving back to the earth. That's awesome. So what I want to do and show you this breakdown on how I got this, the cost, right? So what I did was we looked at, first let's look at without solar. So if this customer didn't use any lick of solar, and they still consume this same amount of consumption, and they were still charged that same amount of electricity, that's what they would have been charged, right? Correct. Now, like we said, their bill was almost 200, about 198, and then let's say the solar payment was about $100. This is how we know that there's savings. Now, like I said, if you want to do this every year, or excuse me, every month, you just add the rest of those savings up for the month. You get your savings for the year. Now, I know that's a lot of information and it was quite fast. I am opening up the floor to everyone to let me know any questions or any comments here. Now, Victoria, I'm seeing here you did mention that you want to see an APS bill to just figure out what's going on, just because the Nevada bill isn't very helpful. So let's go back to that. Let's go see the Nevada Energy bill just so that we see. Now, the APS bill, like you mentioned, is a little bit different than this. Just so that you know, for APS, I believe your charges are cut between on peak and off peak. Now, what you want to do if you're APS or SRP, what you want to do is just add your on peak and off peak. That's going to be the same as your kilowatt hours delivered. What Nevada Energy does on their side is that they don't divide those of on peak as in high energy demand or low energy demand. So that's why we chose Nevada Energy, just for simplicity reasons. So if you're with APS or SRP, and you want to do your own analysis to find out what that is, what you're going to do is just add your on peak and your off peak. That's going to be your delivered. Now, what APS and SRP does as well is subtract or divide your credits as far as what you sent during on peak and what you sent during off peak. What you'll do for that, like we did for the delivered, is just add what those two numbers are so that you get the total for received. Now, that on your bills, they already show you what that is in total. Then they go ahead and break that down for you so that you know what you pulled on peak and what you pulled off peak. Now, like I said, you'll just go ahead and do those same things. You'll add the on peak and off peak, and then your on peak and off peak credits, subtract those so that you can find out what your total consumption was. Subtract that, subtract the credits from this number, get the total consumption from the utility company, add what your system produced given those billing period dates, and then this is what you get for your total consumption. If anyone has any more questions on that, or your specific utility company or anything like that, let me know. We do have a few questions that were sent in with when we sent you the initial invitation. So we'll go ahead and go through those as well if there aren't too many questions. Hi, Warrior Mesa. How are you doing today? So Alex, you said that so delivered means that the utility delivered it to me and that R is what I sent. That's exactly right. So what you're seeing here, let's go back to that slide. We'll do this one so we can see both. Oh, sorry about that. So let's look at this. You're exactly right, Alex. So kilowatt hours delivered is what the utility company sent to you. Now, kilowatt hours received is what you sent to them. Now, that's extra power that your home didn't consume. For example, for this bill, they consumed about, let's say, about the 1,000 that the system produced, and they sent back about the 200, almost 300 that they didn't consume. Now, some people might experience more credit sent in or less credit sent in. Now, that just kind of depends as well on your energy habits. So, if you're typically gone for most of the day, then your home will consume an X amount of power, and then a lot of it will go back. Now, if you're in the opposite, you're home in the day more often, your home is going to be consuming most of that power, and you'll be sending whatever your home doesn't use back to the utility company. Now, I want to go over just one question. This is a question that we received from just a couple questions that when we sent in um, the invitation to everyone. So one of the first questions we received, I'll go ahead and read that out to you. They said that we just received our first utility bill from Nevada Energy with the solar system operational. It shows that 979 kilowatt hours generated, but only 553 kilowatt hours received. What's the difference? Use in our home? That's exactly correct. So what that customer was asking was that they were seeing this number on their Nevada energy bill. They were saying, "Is this what my system produced and this is what I sent back as credits?" That's correct. Now, I will let you know that not many other utility companies will tell you what your kilowatt hours generated, but I will tell you that this number, if you look at it, like let's just look at it comparison to here, they're saying that the system produced 1,154 and the system produced 1,240. So just know that there might just be a little bit of a difference here. So I always recommend to always watch your monitoring site for just the most accurate information. But if you want to look at that number, that's okay too. Just know that that's just kind of like an estimate of what's on there. Now, one more SRP question that we received was that there's other or that SRP is starting to give out other solar rates, and what do we think is the best plan? Now, SRP is a really great company in general when it comes to the solar, because they have really great generation rates. Now, I personally am not too familiar with the new solar plans, so I'll go ahead, excuse me, and look at those and see if what I see. Now, for SRP customer, or excuse me, for APS customers, I recommend the Max if you have Saver's Choice Max if you have a demand controller. If you don't have a demand controller, get on the Saver's Choice. Let me investigate a little bit on these SRP plans, find out what's the best plan, and then we could possibly do another live specifically tailored to just Arizona rates with APS and SRP. If you guys want that, go ahead and let me know so we can push for that and get that started. I know SRP and APS are somewhat similar, they just have a little bit of different generation rates. Now, one more question we got says, should we add a battery? What is the cost? What payback might we expect? Now, as everyone knows, your solar system was tailored to what your energy consumption was. There's maybe a few of you that you didn't have a full year's worth of usage, that we had to base it off of square footage. You already know if that was your case. But it all just depends on you. If you feel like a battery might be a good option for you to just send back an extra amount of power to you whenever you need it, that's awesome. The batteries are still somewhat fairly new. So if you want to do some more investigation on your end, that's perfect. So you know exactly what's going on and what you want out of your solar batteries. Now, the costs, I don't know the cost right off the top of my head, but if you would like to know a little bit more about those batteries, let us know so we can get you in touch with somebody that does knows those costs, possibly your energy consultant, so he can visit with you again and see if the battery is a good option for you. He'll be able to see your consumption and your normal habits, and we'll be able to help you decide if that's a good option for you. Now, there's one more question here. This one's a little bit kind of a big question. Now, what it is, let me tell you about it. I want to see if you guys want to do another live event. This one's a little bit outside of the realm of what we're talking about today. One of the questions we received was that, your system is, so, a system size of an X amount of size, but the top amount of your production is only, X amount. So for example, wise, your system is a 9 kilowatt size and your system peak production is about 6 kilowatt hours. Now I want to do another video where we go into in depth with that, because that's something I would like to show more pictures on, so that you're not just hearing me talk. So let us know if you have a lot of questions on your system and what it is. Sorry about that, guys. About what it is that's going on. I know I've had a couple questions myself, and a few customers have asked what's going on with that. So if you do have questions specifically towards that, let me know. Now, sorry about that. My mouse, like I said, is very glitchy. So what I want you guys to know is that we're always here for you. If you ever need us, go ahead and give us a call, send us an email, whatever your questions are. We're more than happy to address those and to find out what's going on. If we can't get it addressed right away, we'll open a case for you, do a little bit more digging on our end, and make sure we get that answer for you. Now, this is our office number, 480-492-4232. If you ever want to get in touch with me or people on my team, we're usually here from 9 to 6. So you're always more than welcome to give us a call at any time that you feel. Go ahead and send us an email as well if you're, busy and you can't give us a call at those times. Send us an email at solutions@elevationsolar.com. That's where I and my team members will be able to find your questions and your concerns and go ahead and address those for you. And so you guys know, like I mentioned, this video will still be posted here on our page. So if you feel like you need to rewatch it, go ahead and please do so. If you feel like there's more questions that you have that aren't necessarily coming right now, but they'll come back to you maybe later today, still send us a comment, send us an email, let us know what those questions are. We are more than happy to address anything that you have and get those things figured out for you. I'm looking here at the chat. Victoria, was there any other battery info? I know we touched on it. Was there anything else that you had questions on? I know we did a little bit. If I know, Victoria, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Your energy consultant was Lennon. If you want him to touch base with you on some battery options, let me know. I'll touch base with Lennon and see if I can get him over to you. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining. I'm so excited. Oh, Irving? Okay, Victoria, I just saw your message. Okay, I will make sure that I can get in touch with Irving and see if we can get him in touch base with you to see if we can look over those battery options with you, just so we can look at your energy consumption and see what's the best option for you. Now, if anyone does have any more questions, concerns, anything like that, please let us know. Like I mentioned, give us a call, send us an email, comment here on our YouTube. Let us know what you want to see next. What's your biggest questions? What are your biggest concerns? Let's address those for you and have these resources available so that when that question pops up again, you don't have to wait for us to give you that answer. All these resources are available to you. Like I mentioned, guys, thanks so much for watching. If you have any other questions, please let us know. You guys are awesome. Thanks so much for getting solar. We do greatly appreciate you here in all our elevation team. Really appreciate your business and appreciate the efforts that you've done to get solar installed. We do appreciate your business and any feedback that you have. So go ahead and please let us know if there's anything that we can do for you.